it's really good to be with you and amongst fellow nomads again, so it's good. It was a wonderful time. 50 years ago, there was a gentleman called Josh Hamilton. Josh came to East London from Port Elizabeth, and he was a very prominent golfer in the Port Elizabeth area. He worked in the motor industry, and when he got here, he brought with him the flag of nomads, I would like to say. When he got here, he called on the captains of all the golf clubs. That was Alexander, West Bank, East London Golf Club, and King Williamstown. And he got the captains of all of those clubs together, and we had more than one meeting where we discussed, and he explained to us this amazing organization called Nomads. And from that day onwards, we all became committed to establishing a Nomads Club in the border area. And that's how it started. 1 or 2 meetings, a couple of beers, and we got all enthusiastic, and we learnt all of the basic principles of nomads, and which I understand are still valid today. You know, I'm quite sure, but I have a bad memory from this point of view. I'm quite sure that we had the first Nomads Nationals that East London hosted was in my time, either as a vice captain or as a captain or a past captain. And it was at the East London Golf Club, and we had a marquee there, the first time they'd had one in East London. That was, you must go back 50 years now to 1975. And that's when we had, about 1980, we had the first Nationals. And that was a major event. That was one side of it. I suppose that would be regarded as a popular event. My colleagues were Lionel Magnuson and Graham Dewar and Des Thacker, the other captains, and we all did it together. But if we take it apart from that, the most amazing thing for me was distributing gifts and presents and, the different gifts and presents for some of the poorer people. And through the Andrew Mentis Fund, we did a lot of that in the old days, and we concentrated on children's charities. I'm not sure quite what the charity profile is at the moment, but in those years we were very good on childcare, CHOC, cancer, and such like activities. And it was really rewarding to be able to go to a place and make a difference, because we'd had this Andrew Mentis tournament, and we were going to give away the proceeds to a deserving charity. And I think that was really meaningful for me. We went to play at Kumcha. Kumcha. I don't know if we played Kumcha anymore, but we went to play at Kumcha. And that was the first time that we sort of stepped out of the box. And for the farmers in that area to see the gentlemen all dressed in their blazers, with their white shirts, with their collars, and everybody looking like the head prefect of their own school. And they came there, and all these farmers wanted to know what had happened, where did they come, was this a takeover bid by the mafia, or what it was. But it was a special occasion, going into the hinterland and speaking to them. I'm quite sure you will appreciate what it was like. It's not like today. In those days it was quite a foreign experience for those. Yeah. In addition to that, if you've played at Kumcha lately, their putting greens, we called them postage stamps, because they were so small that you couldn't find them at the end of the fairway. In my turn was new members. We started off with 5 people, and getting people to understand, and I've just mentioned the uniform and being properly dressed. there were a number of golfers who resisted putting on jackets and getting dressed after golf. They felt that having a shower and putting on a t-shirt was good enough. And that's not good enough to go to prize giving if you were not properly dressed. So that was a challenge to persuade some of the new members, the guys, you can come and you can do that. The other thing was the handicap system. Because we have the special handicap system that we have that's familiar to ourselves, that was a challenge in persuading. So those were the things. From a camaraderie point of view, there were no challenges at all. There was a sense of belonging, and even when John Kayura, who is shortly to be honoured, John was a member of my club in King Williamstown, and he came down. When he came down for his first time, it was quite a new experience, as you can imagine, to have a thing. And those were the challenges that we had at the time. Starting small with a few people, getting 24 people out for your players out for your first game, that was all by invitation. Obviously, people were invited, and so you got 24. And we thought we had 6 4-balls that we were away, that we were good. When we suddenly had a full course of 120, and then we really knew that we were doing well, and we were on top of it, and then to maintain it. I mentioned to you just now, Cyril, that in those days we used to play on a Thursday. And so the style, the type was different. We stopped work in our lives at about 10 o'clock on a Thursday morning. You head out to the golf club, wherever it was. If you had to travel, by 12 o'clock you started, and we had a very good time. And it was only later, because of working routines, that we were not able to have Thursday. And that was one of the limitations in my own life, that because of my other activities, I wasn't able to play on a Sunday. And so that limited my participation. I think I would say that it was a night that Emil Hempel, Emil, you obviously know Emil. You don't know Emil Hempel. He was a member of the West Bank Golf Club at the time. He was under the thing, and we had a few drinks. And he and I also had a few drinks, and we got home very late at night. That didn't inspire me, but it taught me a lot on how not to behave. And those were the things that you learn, the life lessons. That if you're going to be a nomad, you're going to conduct yourself in a gentlemanly fashion and a right way, that it's not there to be reckless. Doesn't mean you can't have a party, doesn't need a thing, but just to sort of border around where we were. One of the captains while I was active was a chap, Graham Dewar. He was one of the second or third or fourth captain, and Graham worked for Johnson & Johnson, was the MD. He went to head up the Portuguese Johnson & Johnson franchise factory. But when I travelled, what happened was I looked Graham Dewar up, and we went out in Portugal and had a function together just because we were nomads. And that's what the sort of unforgettable experience, that once a nomad, always a nomad. And I think it might be said to in your circles, no matter that you've had to fall away or what, you once a nomad, you're always a nomad, and you aspire to the credits of nomads. Yes. So those are the good times. Another time was at Nationals, where we went out and we went to a show, and it was one of Sarafina. I don't know if you've ever heard of the fun. It was a brilliant show in Johannesburg at the Nationals. Yeah. We went there. Sort of things like that which you wouldn't get to do normally. Those were the activities. There were two immediately my thoughts say two things. Firstly, respect, because the respect that came from the national chairperson, the national chairman, and the respect that they expected from you, and which you were then willing to get, but that which came from being the captain of a club. You were respected by virtue of your position. It was not a something that you bought, not something. It was an honor to be, and I say this with humility, absolutely humble, that gave you a respect to be the captain of Border Nomads. And that really meant something. It meant a lot. Also taught you how to deal with other people. That it wasn't a head top-down structure. You were talking to everybody on the same level as a gentleman in an environment that you were a leader, but you were not a leader to command, but to come along. Traditional value is the decorum, the elegance, the decorum, that you stick to things, that you wear your jacket, that you wear you deal with yourself as a gentleman. But in the prize giving, now that doesn't mean to say that the sergeant didn't make jokes and crack jokes and have lots of fun. That was beautiful. That was it. But when it came to the prize giving time, and the fact that somebody had gone out and donated 10 cases of whiskey for you to distribute, that was awesome. It was really wonderful that this was doing. So those values that Border Nomads or Nomads Nationals would always stay with me as being a thing. I mean, even today, putting on my blazer with the 100 game badge, those are the things that I feel were all worth it. The fact that that's how it feels to me. And so if I can say that, I want to be, I said I'm proud, but I said I'm humble, but I'm not humble to say I'm proud to have been a founder member of an organisation which we still respected today. I think it can best be stated that I said once a nomad, always a nomad. Once a friend, always a friend.
Yes.
And I'm never fallen out with any other nomad in my life because we seem to have a congenial approach to each other. I have a friend Peter. We're opposition, we're competitors in the marketplace, but I would never steal his and he wouldn't steal mine, and I trust that absolutely because of the camaraderie, the relationship. So I really feel that it becomes a life-changing event. I don't know whether you would agree with me, but I feel that when you're a member of the, I don't want to make it sound like Freemasons, it's not Freemasons, but there's a brotherhood of nomads where you say, look, he's a nomad. Yeah, you wouldn't shaft him. He's a nomad. You wouldn't ever shaft him because he's my bud. And that's the emotion that I have from him. If I were to have a choice, the Andrew Mentors Fund, because my mind thinks charity-wise now. Yes, social will happen anyway. The golf will happen anyway. The expansion will happen anyway. New members will happen anyway. But the choice that we make is what good do we do to other people? And I say, while we are playing golf, while we're having a good time, what good can we do to other people? And sometimes my mind goes out to not only spending money, but also being a counselling facility where you can, some of the people that are members of Nomads need to talk and they need to have a chat to somebody and they need to be able to discuss. And I think that would be a an advantage to anybody that because of the friendship you make in Nomad, you would have the confidence and the confidentiality to help somebody who needs to think. That's what I would say to another. In the next 50 years, I'm going to say this, I think badly for the powers that be. I would like to think that you have a maximum number of club members, 150 maybe is a nice number, because then you can fill a field normally, and then I would see a second Nomads Club. Where, for me? Port Alfred maybe, or some other place. Maybe we would have one in Olivewood here in the Eastern, and one at Westbank or something of that nature. But I would see that we don't try and grow to 200. We rather have two clubs at 120. I don't know if that's my view. For me,
yes.
Durban.
Nomads.
Yeah, Durban. When we went to Nomads Nationals in Durban. Why? Because I was a young attorney and I learned a lot when I went with the old boys there.
Okay.
Don't let them know, but they're not here anymore, so I won't tell them the stories.
Okay.
The longest drive on the first at East London Golf Club.
East London.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the first. Okay, that was the longest.
On the first.
On the first.
Okay.
You know the first?
Yeah, I know the first.
Yeah.
That should be over the trees in the bunkers there.
Listen,
okay.
you can look at my profile. I'm short, I'm fat. Okay, so for me, the 17th at Westbank.
At Westbank. Okay.
It's a short hole.
Yes.
And the wind blows either side, it either goes left or goes right, it goes east or it goes west, and you've got to hit it in the middle and try and get on the green. And I was very unsuccessful. Very unsuccessful on that. Often fell short or to the left, and then lost ball was my favourite.
How many shots did you play to get to the green from?
Too many. but oftentimes it was only on for 4 or 5, so there was no score on that one. So
The local games.
The nationals that we had here, remember that it was right in the early days. We'd only been around for a few years, and we put on a floor show, like with little skirts and things like that, and of course, when you make a fool of yourself, you have lots of fun. So making fun at the nationals that we presented was quite a special occasion. That we did that, yeah. I think that's a good one to do. I would think it becomes personal again, what it did for the individual. I think if we remember what it did for the individual and the self-esteem that it gave people, and that's across the board, whether you were a school teacher or whether you were a salesman, remembering that we had the motor industry and we had motor mechanics and we had everybody. There was no status, but if you belonged to Nomads, you received your own dignity. And I think that's what I like to remember, that there was a sense of dignity that goes with it.
No, that's good. That's good. So we want to thank you. We want to especially thank you for sharing your story and insight. Your leadership and contribution have helped us shaped Border Nomads into what it is today.
Yeah.
We look forward to honoring this legacy as we step into the next 50 years.
I just wish you all well. I would say that congratulations on where you're at, and I'm proud that the name continues, that Border Nomads is held with high esteem, and it's respected by the community, by the clubs. Oh, that was the other thing. If I just finish off, the clubs used to welcome Border Nomads. Very often organisations and people become a pain for a club, but nomads were accepted as if they were very highly regarded. And that's the legacy. Not just me, but every member of Nomads.
Wow. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thanks all.